Well, here we are again with Michael Ellis. Michael's here at Leerburg. We're filming a new training video on motivation. And every time Michael comes, we always put the word out on our newsletter or Facebook for people to ask questions that they would have for Michael. And the next one in this long list is from a customer named Mike. And Mike says, my Mal has never been a real ball or tug crazy dog. Over the past couple of years, I've bought lots of different balls and tugs to try and gain his interest. My Mal, at times, when we are training, will go crazy for an Orbee ball or a tug, and other times he would rather go off on his own after I give him the release command and or try to reward him. This is my first Mal, and it seems they are quite quirky compared to a breed like German Shepherds. I've tried to make an event out of the reward, like Michael Ellis preaches, but still have had no luck getting past this. I mix my rewards up between a ball and a tug and a food reward, wondering if you have ever come across a dog like this and how you might have to deal with it. To me, it's as if the Mal is either not clicking with me or the reward is not enough. As far as his training, he does agility very well and other things also, but his obedience could be crisper. I have read many times that some dogs just don't have the drive for toys, tugs, and such. What I am describing does what I am describing fit any of these categories? What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, so he brings up a lot of interesting points. So without seeing the dog, and knowing how old the dog is, what the dog's history was like, and how you're playing with them, it's kind of difficult to make a precise assessment, but he brings up some interesting topics that are worth discussing. One is, he's right, that some dogs just don't have the motivation. Try as we might, they don't have it in them, and it may be one of those things. The other thing, but the fact that he plays really intensely sometimes tells me that it's probably in there in some way, and it's either something he's doing or some of his past experiences that make that a problem. So again, if people have started pressure work, the dog can be, some Malinois are very sensitive, and so unintentionally you may be giving them stress signals, and so they avoid. Like if you release your dog and your dog doesn't take the toy and wanders off, that's usually a stress-related behavior. In some fashion they thought, yeah, this isn't worth doing at this stage, and so something could be happening. There should be some conflict, there could be some conflict in your relationship there. Another interesting thing is he said he's tried a lot of different kinds of toys. In my experience, it's not the toy, it's how we're using the toy. Again, what we've been talking about all day here, we've been working on a video on motivation, and it's much more about how the item is used than what the item is. And lots of people expect the item to be what interests the dog. I have the right kind of ball, I have the right kind of tug, I have his favorite treat, whatever that is. And there's truth to that. The dogs can develop preferences for certain kinds of toys, but it's much more about how we use them dynamically. Are we moving it properly? Is the game of tug a game of give and take where the dog feels like they're making an impression? Does the dog feel like they have the chance to win? There's a lot of things that come into that kind of complicate situations. And I would worry less about what the toy is and focus more on how you're moving the toy and how you're playing with the dog. The other thing is he says he mixes rewards up between food and toy and things like that. You have to be careful about doing that. Not because some dogs transition seamlessly from reward to reward without any problems at all. But other dogs really struggle when you switch the value of the rewards frequently. So if my dog has strong preferences for certain kinds of rewards, and he's expecting the reward that he prefers, and I try to give him a lesser reward, that's demotivating. So for instance, if my dog likes food better than toys, and I give him food and then I try to play with him, he may not want to play, and it may be demotivating. So you have to be careful within a given session about changing the items around a lot if you have a dog that doesn't play well. You want to stick with one item and try to make value for that item in that session. So I'd be careful about that. But if push comes to shove, again, without seeing the dog, it may possibly be simply that your dog doesn't have enough drive to do the work, and it is possible. But that doesn't mean you can't make it better either. So our good work will always improve the dog's abilities to do these things, but I would examine those things. The other thing is get with some people that are successful at playing with dogs, so somebody can look at what you're doing playing with a dog. Because there's a lot of subtleties in playing properly with a dog that you may not even be aware of. And you may think that you're doing things well, and some very small adjustments can make huge differences. So it could be beneficial to get with somebody that can see what you're doing.
Good one. I think, as Michael said, we've been here all day filming. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the new motivational tape, and I had to answer this question yesterday concerning Leerburg, I would have had to tell you that you needed to have 50 or 60 toys, and now we only need one.
Yeah, like it's much more about
our inventory out.
So one of the things, that brings up another point. Like I don't want my dog to get stuck on a certain kind of toy. So we change our toys a lot with our dogs. So we change the materials, we change the type of tugs, the type of balls. We play with our dogs with a variety of different items. But if you do that's to avoid what we call equipment bias, a dog that gets so they'll only play with one kind of toy, they'll only play with a tennis ball, so we don't want that to happen, because dogs can develop those kinds of preferences. So we change toys a lot, but it's much more important. And if you're doing things correctly in your play, if your dog is motivationally right in the head and your mechanics are good, you should be able to pick up anything and play with your dog. You should be able to pick up a stick, a leaf, a plastic bottle, a leash. Your dog should not care what the item is at all. And when you get everything in line, you'll notice that your dog really doesn't care. It doesn't care what it is, it's how you move with it.
Really, and that's true. I mean, I say that in jest, because I think in, 3, 4, 5 of the videos that we've done together, we talk about equipment bias. Mm-hmm. And we have to get away from equipment bias. And a lot of people that are new trainers just don't understand what it is. And I think that for new trainers, they can go to our video on demand section, and we've got several hundred free videos, and you'll find at least one. I remember doing one of the free video on demands on equipment bias.
Yeah. And the other thing about equipment bias is that as I go along, I prefer to not have my dog stuck on one thing. But at the end of the day, the reward system is for the dog. The dog has to enjoy this. And I do my best to make the dog like playing with different items, playing with me the way I want it to play. And at the end of the day, I do what the dog likes.
Yeah.
And so if I wind up with a dog that will only play with a Orbee ball, or will only play with a piece of burlap or whatever, that's what I play with them with. I don't really have a choice at the end of the day. So we're trying to avoid those things, but you can only go so far. So if he finds something specific, so if he says, hey, periodically my dog will go crazy over the Orbee ball, put all the rest of it up and just play intensely with your Orbee ball every day for a month and see if you get the dog really into that, to turn that one into a functional reward. Yep. Maybe the hopping around with that dog is not benefiting the dog too. So.
Cool. Okay, thank you.